It's
What's up,
10
buddy?
hours.
How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining me. This is number three of 30 in this ridiculous um, project to do 30 podcasts in 30 hours. Um, what are you up to? What are you working on? I'd love to hear how things are going.
Yeah, sure. So I'm working on newfound media at the moment, which, as you already know, but some of the viewers might not, is basically I help people with personal branding on LinkedIn. I help them with the content side, but also the sales side, and actually trying to get business through building relationships as opposed to just like trying to pitch a bunch of people
Hmm.
and hoping and praying to the world that it will work.
Yeah,
And yeah, so in short, having people make content, helping them get sales through LinkedIn.
yeah,
So
good,
that's what I'm working on right now.
good. Um, One thing I have appreciated about you, and you and I have known each other for a couple years now. One thing that I've really appreciated about you is that you're not stubborn and stuck in your way. You
Mhm.
often will seek advice and run experiments and learn from those experiments and pivot. You've slightly changed your model over the years. I'd love to hear how important those adjustments are in entrepreneurship, especially early on.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's so important. Like if you have to constantly be auditing what you're doing, make sure that everything's effective. At the beginning, it's easier to get in your head and think, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm this great business person, and
Mhm.
actually, you don't know what you're doing. You're probably not the best business person, and you
Yeah.
need to be honest with yourself. And if you go into it thinking you're the best, you're probably not going to do very well, and you're
Mhm.
probably going to fall into that large percentage of people that don't last the first 3 years of business.
Right.
And you have to be willing to build up a service, spend 3 months on building up this service, think it's going to be amazing, and then a month later completely tear it down and say, well, that didn't work. The market just hit me in the face. And actually, do I really know my market as well as what I think I do? And
Yeah.
so constantly being able to adapt, test new markets, speak to people, do
Hmm.
research, and be willing to change, I think is really, really important, especially when you're first starting out. And even to be honest, when you're consistently growing and trying to grow the business as well.
Yeah. Another thing I appreciate about you is that you're an avid reader. I see your book reports and your updates on things that you're reading. How important is that in your journey with where you are? How important is it consuming that type of content?
It's so important, and it's really funny that you mentioned reading because I've been pretty bad with it, especially towards the second half of this year.
Yeah.
I set myself a goal at the beginning of the year to read 12 books,
Hmm.
and by midway through the year, I was on like 8 books. I was two
Hmm.
books ahead. I was like, yeah, this is going to be easy. I'm gonna be reading like 15 books, maybe more.
Yeah.
And we're coming to the end of December. I've read 11 and a half books. So you can see the drop off there.
Yeah.
But it's extremely crucial to keep reading, keep learning, like whether that's through articles, audio books, podcasts, like the
Hmm.
whole lot. I'm always trying to listen, looking for new information, even if it's just spending half an hour to scroll through LinkedIn to see the sorts of people that I'm seeing and the people I'm connected with, because they're always like they're fellow marketers, they're fellow business people, they're always sharing knowledge, tips that I don't know. And there's a book that I'm reading right now, which you've probably heard of. It's by Daniel Pink. It's called To Sell is Human. This book is amazing. So if anyone's watching, whether it's like not live, whether you're live, whatever, make sure you check out this book, especially if you're struggling in sales. I'm 2/3 of the way through,
Mm.
and my God, like I was reading it on the train yesterday,
Hmm.
and I was just like, this session needs to be longer because this book is amazing.
Wow.
You don't find many books that have solid tips in. You find some books that try and give you information, but they don't tell you how to apply it. But Daniel Pink in this book, it's just amazing. So if you're new to sales, if you're amazing at sales, you still need to read this book. It's
Wow.
great.
So would you say that other than my book, that's the most important book for you to read as a service-based entrepreneur?
Yes, your book's really good for the back end that lots of people
Yeah.
don't see in business, like the productivity side. That it can get quite hard if you're stuck in four walls, especially if you're a solo founder. It gets very lonely. You think, oh yeah, everyone finds it lonely, but I won't because I'm an amazing businessman. You go
Yeah.
in, a few months in, you get ragged about, and your book allows you to find balance. And the real thing I love about your book, to be honest, is you tell people, yeah, this is a great way to be productive, but you also tell people, but you also need to think about the other things in your life, such as spending 20 minutes with your family, or spending 20 minutes playing Xbox or playing Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's these small things that are completely different to business, but actually help you be more productive and help you show up a lot more and just be a little bit more well-rounded and have a lot
Yeah.
more focus when it comes to that business face that you show on a Monday to Friday.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you. I really wasn't fishing for compliments. I was kind of, but I appreciate that. So tell me, think back, now that you're this old savvy entrepreneur, can you think back to the time, when you knew that you were an entrepreneur and you had to pursue something for yourself?
Yeah, like I do think about it a lot, to be honest. I've been thinking about the beginning of my journey and where I was two and a
Hmm.
half years ago and how far I've came. On the knowledge side, I've came very far, but the business side, if you're watching as an outsider, it probably feels like the business hasn't came very far
Mm.
because I've pivoted, I've had a rebrand, I've like changed everything multiple times. And from an outsider, they probably see that as really unproductive and just seeing me being really bad at decisions. But actually, it's just if things don't work, I'll give it a few months. But if I just don't see anything, I'm just going to change because it's not worth trying to get something to work, forcing loads and loads of effort into it, and then deciding 5 years down the line when you've only had one client that it's time to give up. And it's something I've always been nervous about
Mm.
is how long do you keep pushing until you decide that, okay, today's the day I need to change. And it
Yeah.
took conversations with yourself, conversations with a great woman up in Canada called Lucy Colangelo. And at the start of this year, I finally managed to take the leap from it being a podcasting business to it being a LinkedIn business.
Hmm.
And I've seen a lot of difference. Like, I was really passionate about podcasting and I still am, but it just wasn't something I was meant to do. And there's hundreds of other people out there. I'll leave it to them to do. Someone else is going to be able to satisfy that market.
Hmm.
And I just wasn't the right guy for the job. Whereas LinkedIn, I feel like it's something I actually want to do in
Hmm.
terms of work, but also I'm quite knowledgeable in it and I've built up an audience, etc. And it just feels a bit more right. And
Yeah.
you also have to be honest with yourself with those sorts of feelings that you have.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. What are some mistakes that you see people making on social media? And if you want to stick with LinkedIn, I mean that's cool, but social media in general with their content, what are some of the common mistakes that you see people making and entrepreneurs in particular?
So there's two off the bat that come to mind. Number one is, well, actually, I've just thought of a third actually as I think about it. So the first one is just wanting to go viral.
Hmm.
I've I've even worked with people that have been in this case, and I think it's all right to want to share your message with the world. I want to share my message with as many people that will listen. All 9
Hmm.
billion, 10 billion, like when we even get to 10 billion, I want everyone to hear my words. But
Right.
you also have to mix that with a sense of patience, and you have to be willing to be patient. Not everyone is going to come on day one. They're not even going to come on day 600. You've just got to consistently show up and be patient. The second part is, which this is a recipe for disaster. If you really want to go viral straight away and you're not willing to put the time in with the audience that you've got at the beginning, those two mixed together is a horrible mix.
Yeah.
If you get one 10 comments, whatever range of comments you get, you have to respond to every single one of them. A lot of people go onto social and they keep pushing out, but social media, it says in the first word of social media, you have to be social. You can't,
Right.
it's not a one-way conversation anymore. It used to work in sales, it used to work in business.
Yeah.
We talked about this before. You used to be able to push messages out and people couldn't search for themselves. But if you're not giving people 5 minutes of your time to respond to that comment, ask them further questions, then they're probably going to go to that person that does the exact same thing as you, even though you claim that you both have a USP and you're both the best on the market. If they're spending 5 minutes to send you a comment, even if it's just sending you a Christmas card, it's like 20p, 20 cents in your case, for a really cheap Christmas card. It could be $1 even, and that's not much. But if someone sends you a Christmas card, it's that little act of giving. It just makes you like them a little bit more, makes you trust them, you're going to buy from them. And it's the small actions of replying to comments, even messaging people that have decided to like, if you're not even getting comments yet and you're on day one, you've sent one post and the only person liking is your nan, your granddad, and your uncle's son. Like, it's actually spending the time to engage with these individuals at the very, very beginning. And also another great strategy for those out there, Gary V's talked about it a few times, but going on hashtags. He's talked about it on Instagram, he's talked about it on Twitter, but going on hashtags and replying to people. Now, you haven't even got to send a follow or you haven't got to connect with them depending on the platform, but just responding to them. So for example, my audience is, well, the people I'm targeting are coaches. So I could search hashtag life coach and respond to 10 people, especially the people that aren't even getting a like, because if you comment, you guys will know if you're a little bit into the journey. Day one was hard when no one was responding. Day 10 may have even been hard. But if you send one comment, it gives you a bit of a buzz because you're like, oh my God, someone has spent 1 minute to respond, even if it's just an emoji. So take the time, really, is the really big thing. Take the time to talk to your audience.
Yeah, I love that. It seems like we've seen this really big shift in social media where a few years ago it was really common to just isolate yourself to your own thing. I'm going to post this thing, put it out to the world, and hope for the best. That just doesn't work anymore. And from what you're saying and recommending, you really need to engage with people at a sort of a micro level, and then also engage with other people's content. So I'd like to talk about other people's content, because you do a really good job of that too, which is finding other people's content. So whether you're searching hashtags or you're on LinkedIn, how would you recommend entrepreneurs in particular get started engaging with other people, and why is that important?
So it's funny that you asked this question. I saw someone on Gary V's comments. For those of you that don't know Gary V, he's a marketer often in the US, and he put up a video about this family wanting to start a podcast, and they really needed to be on TikTok and LinkedIn. Gary V always preaches about these platforms, right? Because they both have great engagement right now. And there was someone in the comments that said, I have a pastry business. Would this work on LinkedIn? So as you've asked that question, let's talk through the process of being a pastry business and how I would personally, if I was them, go through using LinkedIn and build a portfolio, right? So I wouldn't go in with the business account. A lot of people would suggest, build a business page. If you really want to build engagement, you want to be the human behind the brand. So say your name's John Smith, you build your profile on LinkedIn and you say, hey, so this is my business, this is what we do, and you pin it as a featured on your profile. In the featured section, it basically shows you above your content that it's like at the top of your profile, it says, hey, you can click on these very easily. And then I would start making content showing the behind the scenes of how you actually make the pastries. And not only does that show that you're using all your natural ingredients that you put on your flyers on the front of your window, but it's quite satisfying watching people make food, especially pastries, when you've got the pastry laying down, it's like this, and then you put the filling in the middle, and you start to fold it over. That folding pastry just looks so nice. And then you could put a time lapse of, the camera in front of the oven, and you see them rising, and you see the crisp. And then at the end, you have the food porn moment when you chop it in half. And just that, I mean, I can see you're getting hungry right now. I'm getting hungry myself. It's coming up to Christmas. It's a brilliant time for a pastry business to start. They can do Christmas pastries. They can make it fancy, do it in Christmas tree cookies, all these different things. It doesn't matter whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Reddit, like the platform doesn't matter. And a lot of marketers say, oh yeah, you have to be very strategic about where your audience is. Skip all of that. Get on a platform that has great engagement, like TikTok or LinkedIn right now, in order to build your audience straight away. You're a human, I'm a human, right? You're going to get hungry around Christmas. If you see someone with mince pies, you're going to be like, yep, I want every single one of them on that plate. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. If you see someone producing really nice videos of things that make your mouth water, things that make you laugh, a dog falling into snow, all these little ones, people are going to engage. It doesn't matter what platform. So touch with humans' emotions and go in and just create content. Skip the platform side. Produce it on your personal brand. Show them nice images, and people will engage.
That's brilliant. A lot of that I talk to try to jump on every platform. They get on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and TikTok and LinkedIn and everywhere. How would you recommend prioritizing platforms? And you can use any entrepreneurial example. Maybe if you want to stick with bakery, that's maybe just stick with bakery just to keep it the continuity. How would you recommend that a bakery business prioritize where they're active on social media?
So I'm a big fan of starting on one platform. I think if you try and jump into like 4 different platforms, you're probably not going to end up being consistent with all of them. You're going to drive yourself too thin. And we see it a lot, especially if you're a startup, because there's some people that say, oh, you need to be on Instagram because you've got this demographic, you need to be on TikTok. And especially if you don't know how to use social media, you haven't really been on it, and you're still in the learning phase, just pick one platform. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you can have a look into the demographics and the psychographics and all that of each platform and say, well, this is where more of my target audience is. And it may make a slight difference, yes. But for the example of the pastry company, if they jump on TikTok, personally, I would say TikTok for that form of video, but it would work on LinkedIn. It probably would work on Instagram as well. But you'll probably get found a little bit more on TikTok. It's doing a little bit better than LinkedIn, as much as I hate to say it. But yeah, if you just produce that type of content, it's going to get views. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what is a view? It's a digital number, as opposed to it actually being sales. But if you have a nice website that you made on Wix, and you may not know how to use Wix, but if you spent lots of time and spent a little bit of time to do a few alt tags, even if you don't know if you're doing it right, if lots of people are searching it, it's probably going to up the traffic anyway. And if people are searching directly for that website and you give them the web link, then the SEO side doesn't really matter. And there might be SEO people listening to this and hate me for saying that, but if you're giving people the link, they will order online, and then you could be getting orders around the US or the UK and even beyond the island that you're living on. So I would pick one platform. If it's a platform that you're used to, pick that one. Like if you're used to Instagram, you've been on it for 5 years, do it. If you're used to Facebook, do it. Get your nan to share it to her friends. Like just pick a platform. Don't spend too much time thinking about it, and just start creating content consistently.
I love it. So I want to give you the final word. What are some words of wisdom, tips, lessons learned, advice that you'd like to share with everyone?
Sure. So I'll give one piece of marketing advice and one piece of business. So the business side, I hate to say this, but it's been a massive learning for me this year, is take the time to do things you enjoy and don't try and push everyone out during the process. I found that when I first started, I was definitely that hustle mentality guy. It was like every single hour you can spend, I'm on it. The weekends, like every single second. And I was like, my health, I prefer to spend an hour longer working on my business as opposed to spending an hour going for a run or doing press ups or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wrong mentality. You have to focus on your health as well. So maybe do half an hour, do like a Joe Wicks YouTube routine in the morning. That'll boost your energy, make you more focused on business. And also do things that you enjoy within that business cycle. So come off your laptop. If you're an evening person, maybe do some things you enjoy in the morning. If you're a morning person, do some things you enjoy in the evening. So come off 7, 6, whatever. Spend some time with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, fiance, husband, whatever. And, play some Xbox, play some Fortnite. I know you play Fortnite. I play Fortnite now and again. And it's just nice. It's completely different to business. Gives you a completely different mindset. Watch some movies, around Christmas time. So for business, take some time off. Spend some time with the people around you. They're not going to be here forever. And there's no point getting successful if you have no one to be successful with. Second, on the flip side, content. Be consistent. Don't spend too much time thinking about content, but make sure that you're producing content consistently. Because if you think about, am I on the right platform? Am I talking right? All these different things, then you're probably not even going to start. And if you do start, you're not going to be consistent. A few apps to give people tips and like they can use. If you're looking for subtitles on your video and you don't want to pay for Rev or Subtitle or one of the other many platforms that people use YouTube. You upload to YouTube, they automatically generate your subtitles. It may take about 20 minutes, but you can go back in and edit them and you get a file. That works pretty well for LinkedIn. Doesn't work as well for Facebook, but if you're on LinkedIn, then that's great. If you're looking for help with your copywriting, I know I'm great on video and podcasts, but if I come to writing, I'm not as great. Use Hemingway. Now, if you just search Hemingway, it will pop up. You can click on it. It's completely free. You haven't got to download any apps. You haven't got to download anything. You just go online, you type in your copy, and it tells you when you're talking passive-aggressive, when your sentences are too long, the amount of adverbs or whatever you're using. I mean, that's like high school English stuff.
Right.
But it tells you all these things, and leave a question at the end. That's extremely important. And there we go.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm gonna let you get back to your day. I've got 26 more of these to go. I appreciate you stopping by, man. It's been just great to see how you've progressed on your journey. You're certainly doing things the right way, and I certainly appreciate our friendship. So thank you so much for stopping by, and I'm sure we'll chat soon.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be part of your journey, and yeah, we'll definitely speak soon.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.